It's time for another installment of Flashpoint. This week, Mike Holfeld sat down with Val Demings on her Results 2016 campaign.
Hi everyone, I'm Mike Holfeld. Our guest today, well, a real good friend on Flashpoint, former Orlando police chief and Democratic candidate for Florida's 10th Congressional District. Of course, I'm talking about Val Demings. Chief, it's been a while.
It has been a while, Mike, but it's good to be back.
It's great to have you here. How's the campaign going so far? How's that sound like? You're running for Congress.
I'm running for Congress,
yeah,
as you know, the second time, and I just finished my primary on August 30th. Glad to have that out of the way. It's going well. We're working hard every day to get our message out to the voters and earn their vote on November 8th. It's interesting in our House right now because the sheriff is also running.
I know, you and I were
re-election.
talking about that. What's that like? You've got Jerry Demings on the ballot, you have Val Demings on the ballot. What's that like?
Well, you know, having served as the chief a portion of the time that he served as sheriff, we're certainly used to running together and just really working together to make this community a better place to live. And so what we're saying to the voters is when you see Demings and Demings on the ballot, it's not a typo, it's for real. Don't leave a Demings behind.
How does that, do you guys have time to see each other? I mean, that puts a lot of demand.
A lot of people ask me, I'll say, what's going to happen when you win and move to D.C.? And I tell them, I'll see the sheriff about the same amount of time, right?
Sure.
You know, we're just a really busy couple, but we're really committed to public service, and we're used to this very busy, very crazy lifestyle that we live. But every day, we try to make matter and improve life for somebody.
You've been a great leader in this town. You ran in 2012, didn't win. Now you're back. What inspired you to say, you know what, I'm going to take a shot at this again? Because on the Democratic side, you won big time.
Yeah, you know, I have every job that I've had in my adult life has been a job of public service. Started off as a social worker in Jacksonville, joined the Orlando Police Department, worked my way up through the ranks to become the chief of police, but I've always been involved in serving people. And so 2012, I was recruited to run. Took a long time to get me to agree to that, but I saw an opportunity to try to make my community better, stronger, safer. And I ran. It was an amazing run. Ran in a county that stretched across, or a district that stretched across 3 counties. Yeah. In a district that was drawn to really favor my opponent, but I came within 3.5 percentage points. Did really well, and so back again 2016.
I remember reporting that you were the rising star. Now, what did they have to do this time to say, we want you back? What did the Democrats say to you? Because you know you've gained national attention. You were at the DNC, you were at the podium there. Hillary Clinton is supporting you. You've gained national attention. What's that about?
That's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
When I think about my background, a girl who grew up the mother of a maid and a janitor. But I've had some amazing opportunities. And, you know, the national support that I've been able to gain in this race, I believe, is just, when I ran in 2012, I was considered the underdog, but I worked hard and did well. And so I think the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee and others on the national level just see this race as unfinished business. Unfinished business. Because I know you're a people person. You go out there and look them in the eye. What are they telling you? What's important to them? I know that the hunger issue is important to you, but what about them? Every time, and I know you remember when I was the chief of police and we weren't having a good day, I would always schedule a meeting and go out in the community and meet with the community, right? Because I would never take all the responsibility on myself, didn't allow the police department to do it, to make our community safer. I always involve the community in that. When I'm out in the community now, I'm actually holding these, what I call Lift Every Voice town hall meetings. Okay. And it's really about asking the community, what's the agenda that they want me to take to D.C.? They're concerned about jobs. They're concerned about income inequality. We know the minimum wage is $8.05 an hour. I took the challenge, $17 a day, $85 a week, trying to live on that.
See what it was like?
It was brutal.
Yeah.
But I knew taking a challenge, my week would end. But think about people who go to work every day trying to support their salaries or their families on that salary. Gun control, it's hard for me to believe, Mike, as a former law enforcement officer and a chief of police, that Orlando had the deadliest mass shooting in our nation's history.
Let me hold you on that thought, Val. I'm enjoying this immensely. We're going to take a break here and we'll come back to that. When we come back, we'll talk more with Val Demings on the congressional race, her campaign, much more. You're watching Flashpoint.
When Hurricane
The 49 victims in the Pulse shooting and the survivors that now have to live with their visible and invisible wounds. No words can describe the grief and scars that our community now faces.
That's my good friend Val Demings speaking at former Congresswoman Gabrielle Giffords anti-gun violence rally in September. She joins us this morning on Flashpoint. Val, we were talking before the break how important the gun issue is, and you had mentioned Pulse. Who will ever forget June 12th?
Who will ever forget June 12th?
Yeah.
We started the morning off about 3 o'clock. Jerry received a phone call. He was up getting dressed. I asked him what had happened, and at that time he said, remember the early reports were 20 people had been killed.
Right.
And that was just unbelievable for a city that I had worked in and patrolled, and then we later found out that we had 49 victims.
All those young people.
All those young people, and to believe that Orlando, a place where over 60 million people bring their families, their businesses, want to put on their bucket list, that we would now be known as a place that had the deadliest mass shooting. But Mike, it goes back to this whole discussion about gun rights, Second Amendment. I am a person who grew up in a home where my daddy, he was a regular hunter. He owned several guns. I grew up around them. This issue is not about keeping guns out of the hands of people who are good, law-abiding citizens.
Sure.
This conversation is about keeping guns out of the hands of criminals, domestic abusers, and terrorists, and the mentally ill. We have got to work hard to pass common sense gun safety legislation, universal background checks. Can't we start there? If you own a car, you've got to register that car. If you want to drive it, you've got to go through testing to make sure you're proficient. But you can walk, and an individual can walk in any gun show and buy a gun, 2, 3, and walk out with no background check.
Yeah, we went undercover and proved your point. You're right.
And we've got to do better. The assault weapons ban expired in 2004. Assault rifles, as you know, like the one that was used, a 6-hour MCX that was used in the Pulse nightclub shooting, it was created for the battlefield. The manufacturer will tell you that. They were never created for our streets and our neighborhoods and our schools where they have been used. We've got to reinstitute the ban on assault rifles and keep them off of our streets and our neighborhoods.
You're convinced that would have made a difference, obviously, in this Mateen thing.
You know, I certainly believe it could have.
Right.
It's too, as you've proven yourself, that it is too easy to access these weapons that were designed to do mass destruction. When I met with Congresswoman Gabby Gifford, a woman who was having a meeting on a street corner in her district, which should have been the safest place for her, an assault rifle was used in the Sandy Hook shooting, where 20 innocent first graders were shot and killed in a place that should be safe for them. And now, in addition to having fire drills, they're now having active shooter drills. No society, especially this one, should not live like that.
Going to Capitol Hill, you know that's a tough nut to crack, but because you come from Orlando, will that be a powerful selling point?
I certainly will make it that way. And not just that, Mike. I spent 27 years in law enforcement. I had the honor, as we've already talked about, of serving as the chief of police.
Right.
I know this issue. I know what responsible gun owners look like, and I know what those who want to do us harm look like. We've got to do everything within our power. And I do believe that there are individuals on both sides of the aisle who care about this issue. All I know is I'm going to spend every day a large majority of my time in Congress working on getting common sense gun legislation passed.
Are you anticipating argument? Because you know there's the NRA, there's the pro side of this. You're anticipating it?
Of course. And I'm used to a good fight.
Okay.
But I believe we have allowed the gun lobby to make this issue about the Second Amendment and make it about responsible gun owners. It has nothing to do with responsible gun owners. It's about keeping guns out of the hands of those who would do us harm. Some of those people wake up every day the terrorists who are out there, and their number one thought is how they can hurt and kill Americans. It's about keeping guns out of their hands.
One more thing on this. As a freshman congresswoman, member of Congress, will you work with some of the senior congresswomen and men there to craft something?
I certainly will.
Both sides of the aisle?
I certainly will, and am anticipating being able to use my expertise in this area. I've seen communities at their best, I've seen them at their worst, but I've also seen the devastation that gun violence brings to every community. We've got to do better.
You and I are both parents. Let's talk about Affordable Care Act. I like the part where President Obama allowed the kids to be under mine, I think it is till 26. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
By the way.
But for some reason, a lot of these insurance companies are pulling out. They're abandoning us, and I guess the program didn't work. Can it be fixed?
Well, it is working.
Okay.
Because we have millions of Americans who did not have health care coverage in the past.
Right.
They now have it. And what we have to remember is that when people are uninsured, somebody's still paying for that. When they show up at emergency room, somebody's paying the bill. It's a good thing that millions of Americans now have coverage. It's a good thing that persons with pre-existing conditions now have coverage. Believe me, the mother of 3 sons, it is a good thing that young people who are in school can stay on their parents' insurance until they're 26.
A lot of us hear that. Yes, ma'am.
But the Affordable Health Care Act was created in the beginning to really help to better regulate insurance companies so that health care would be accessible and affordable. We've heard the discussions recently about some of the insurance companies feels like it's becoming a burden in terms of cost to them, and they're not able to turn a profit. So while it is not perfect, we have to continue to work because insurance companies are in the business of making a profit. But our number one goal is to make sure that everybody living in this country, every family, has access. So we need to keep working on the law, but I believe it's off to a good start.
It probably is, but there's been this pullback, as you say, business is business. What do you think you can do to structure it? Is there potential for compromise here to make it work?
I think there's got to be, because it cannot work without the insurance company's participation. And so we're going to have to bring both to the table, as we always do, and say, how can we provide quality health care for American families that's accessible and affordable, but also allow insurance companies to be able to operate?
You know, I could talk to you for hours on all of this. I love talking to you.
Thank you.
The voters that are watching this morning, what do you want them to know before they go to the polls? Who is Val Demings? Why should you vote for her?
Val Demings is a person who grew up tough. I grew up poor. As I said earlier, my mother was a maid, my father was a janitor, but they taught me that if I would work hard and play by the rules, that I could live the American dream. Because of my own life, Mike, I'm on a mission now to make sure that everybody who's willing to play by those rules has an opportunity to succeed. They've seen me working in this community for a lot of years. I will go to Congress and continue to work on their behalf every day that I'm there.
What's your gut tell you? You're going to win this thing?
I'm going to win this thing.
Are you?
Yeah, but I'm working hard, taking nothing for granted.
You and I love politics, and I just have to ask you, and you don't have to answer, but my producer says I should. The presidential election.
Wow. Is there a presidential election?
Yes, ma'am, there is. What do you think?
Wow. I got to tell you, I'm a little surprised that the polls show that race being as close as it is. You know, the beautiful thing about America, Mike, is that we've always had a choice, right? I think we have a very clear choice moving into November 8th about who the next president will be. If you believe that we have to do something about income inequality in this country, then Hillary Clinton is your person. If you believe that every family should have access to quality health care, Hillary Clinton is your person. And you know, if you believe that we need to do something about our crumbling infrastructure, Hillary Clinton is that person. If you believe that college should be affordable, we see kids graduating every day who've lived the American dream in terms of being able to go to college, but graduate with thousands of dollars of debt. If you believe that college should be more affordable, Hillary Clinton is your person. But there is another choice.
And that other choice, and I appreciate everything you said, the one thing Donald Trump did do was hit a chord. And I think you and I both agree that a lot of Americans were upset. I mean, this guy that's a businessman, he's been on television as a personality, somehow delivered a message.
You know what, Mike? I think when you talk about that segment of America who's afraid They're scared about what tomorrow looks like for them. Will their job be there tomorrow? Will their children, for the first generation in a long time, do worse than their generation? Those are real concerns. Donald Trump, in their minds, brings a different perspective, but it still has to be the right perspective. He still has to prove that he's able to lift their interest up in a realistic way and get things accomplished that they care about. I haven't seen anything that he's said or done that shows that ability.
Hillary Clinton's your call.
Hillary Clinton's my call.
Always a pleasure. Great seeing you.
Thank you so much.
We want to thank Val Demings for being on Flashpoint today. We'll be back with more news and weather in just a few minutes.